Starting. Okay. Kindly introduce yourself, please.
I'm Jeffrey Smith, and I'm the Executive Director of Vanguard Africa, which is based in Washington, D.C., and I'm in Gambia for the week.
What is the purpose of your visit to the Gambia?
So I'm here actually as a consultant for the International Republican Institute. We're doing a workshop with youth and women activists next week, but in the intervening days, meeting with civil society leaders and leaders within the new government to get a sense of the new Gambia and what changes have been made and what reforms they're working towards.
You play a crucial role in the fight against Jammeh's regime. What is your assessment of Barrow's first 9 months in office?
You know, I think he has a tough uphill hill to climb. I think patience is definitely needed. You know, the elections, as you said, has only been was 9 months ago, so it's going to take some time to make these needed reforms. I think they're moving in the right direction, and I think there's a reason for optimism. But again, democracy is tough work. The ouster of Jammeh was the beginning of the end, or rather the ending of the beginning, if you think about it that way, with a long way to go. But I'm fairly confident, speaking to people in the government, that they have the interests of the Gambian people at heart, but then also speaking with colleagues in civil society and journalists as well. I know they're going to hold them accountable, much as they did the last government. So entirely hopeful, for sure.
Why were you so passionate about the fight against Jammeh?
I like an underdog. I like, and to be honest, I've been working with human rights defenders in Africa for over a decade now, and I've never, honestly, and I'm not just saying this because you're standing here, but I've never worked with more passionate, more committed people than I have with Gambians, both in the diaspora and here in the country. So for me, it was a privilege and it was an honor, and something I took great pride in and continue to do so.
Okay, what do you think should be the main priorities of the government as for now?
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's many of them. I think one of the issues I'll talk about tonight is truth and reconciliation, and justice as a foundation for sustainable democracy, which I think is incredibly important. Everyone I've talked to in government and in civil society, that comes up almost first every single time. I think socioeconomic development, of course, is a huge issue. Civil liberties and political rights are great, but if you can't get a job and if you can't put food on your table, then that's going to be very problematic. So I think there's a host of issues, but for me, coming from the background I do, working on human rights issues, I think truth, justice, and reconciliation, and making necessary constitutional and legal reforms will certainly be a priority.
So is your war over since Jammeh is no more in power, or you will also go chase after him in Equatorial Guinea?
No, I'm really encouraged to hear that efforts are being made to prosecute some of the perpetrators of the crimes that were committed here. The former president obviously being chief among them. So I think that's certainly something to watch as well, and something I'm sure we'll get into tonight at the Civil Society Forum, given that issues of justice and reparations and truth and all the issues wrapped up in that will certainly be on a lot of people's minds, I think.
Yes. Mr. Smith, welcome to the Gambia.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question is, a year ago, do you think that change was possible in the Gambia?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, it goes to your question. I've never worked with more committed, passionate people in my life. And I think a lot of people were surprised on, December 2nd of 2016. I wasn't one of them at the time. I was very confident in all of you. I saw your commitment firsthand for 3-4 years, working with so many of you. So to be honest, I wasn't really surprised. I think the election result did not surprise me, but the fact that Jammeh conceded so quickly and the fact that it happened so fast was surprising for me. I was almost speechless. And on Fatu Radio, for instance, I remember Fatu called me, and there was literal radio silence. There was no words being spoken, and it was a shock for many, but not entirely surprising for me. In Togo, a lot of the situation is very similar to what you saw happen in Gambia in terms of how the momentum built with the citizen-led movement, people protesting in the streets, losing their fear in essence, to push for needed democratic reforms. And I think the way in which the media advocacy has been working, the way in which international awareness has been building on Togo, which typically you don't see in the international press. Just yesterday there was a big piece in the Washington Post, for instance, about the unrest there. So I think it's, once you see that momentum building, it's a hard process to stop, and that's a good thing for reform. That's a good thing for democratic activists on the ground who are, like you all did, quite literally put your lives on the line for this. And if those people aren't giving up and they continue to fight, what's my excuse and what's our excuse? So I think we need to partner with them and assist them in any way we can and when we can.
One part of the fight was to get Jammeh, and Jammeh is gone now, but the damage he has caused to the Gambia cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
Now that a lot of victims of his oppression are seeking for justice, how is your group going to help Gambians again to ensure that justice is served to the victims that were crying to see that justice is done?
Yeah, I mean, in my public advocacy and in the course of my work, working with continuing to work with Gambian activists both here in the country and in the diaspora, that's certainly an issue we're paying close attention to, and an issue that we're very keen to continue to contribute to. But the way in which my organization, Vanguard Africa, is structured is we're very flexible, and one of the things we're very interested in doing as well is assisting the new government to make these necessary reforms, working with pro-reform leaders in the government to advance these needed institutional and constitutional reforms. So really there are many doors that can be opened, and so many possibilities, and a lot to look forward to, I think. Like I was saying at the outset, I think the challenges are many, and they're severe, and there's 23 years of dictatorship is a lot to overcome, and you're not going to do it overnight. The United States of America, where I come from, has been a democracy for over 250 years, and we're having struggles. You've been a democracy for 9 months, so you can't expect change overnight. I think it was certainly a dagger in the heart of authoritarianism here, but that's just the first stage, and now it's the dirty work has to begin, and this is when you roll up your sleeves and really start doing the dirty work. And hopefully the new government is committed to that, and hopefully my journalist friends and my civil society friends will continue to hold them accountable, and I think they will.
There are a lot of challenges in rebuilding the Gambia. Mr. Smith, what do you think are the main challenges that Gambia should consider doing in order to ensure that we move now? Because a lot of complaints have been made that the new government is slow in terms of moving the country forward.
Yeah, which is understandable. I mean, when you come to power as a coalition government, you have a lot of interests to accede to and to remedy. So, for me, I don't think I don't think I'm in a good position to say what the new government should be focusing on as a priority, but what I continue to hear repeatedly from people in government and people in civil society is truth and justice and reconciliation for the past 22 years. So certainly I think that is a worthy goal, because and what I'll talk about tonight actually at the forum is, that's a necessary foundation for sustainable democracy and for sustainable development. So I'm really interested in getting into that conversation tonight.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.